So we went to Seattle and recorded with Aaron at this studio that he worked at. I don't think he worked full time, and you know, in retrospect, he's told me that he had no idea how to record anything. He was totally just winging it. He was faking it, you know, fake it till you make it. That's what they always say. And it totally worked for Aaron because he finally made it, and he knows what he's doing now. But back in those days, he really didn't, and we never would have known. I don't think Brandon knew. So the word was, come and record these 4 songs, and I'm gonna get this guy to put it out on Tooth and Nail Records. This guy, Brandon.
Aaron Sprinkle had sent me a demo of this band called MxPx. They were 16-year-old kids, and he's like, we should put out a 7-inch vinyl. Aaron said he was just gonna do it on his own. And he kind of convinced, Aaron's very convincing, and he kind of convinced me that he could do this thing. So we were gonna do the 7-inch, and the more we heard the demos, I was like, man, these guys are so freaking good, let's do it.
So that kind of got us started with the first time we ever heard about Tooth and Nail. I think at that point, Brandon wanted to sign us and decided, yeah, let's definitely do the full length. And that summer, we went into a vast studios in Wallingford, Washington, which is the U District area of Seattle. After our sophomore year in high school was when we recorded Pokinatcha. So we really hadn't been a band very long. We had no business making a full-length album that anybody would hear. But then again, as Aaron says, he had no idea what he was doing at Avast. He's just sitting there like pushing buttons, probably asking Stu, like, all right, hey, is this right? You know, so, you know, back then, because it's all 2-inch tape, it's all analog, there's no pitch correction. If you don't play it well, if you don't sing it well, it's not gonna sound good anyway. So I think that was the main thing about our first few albums, is it really is exactly how we played it. And we recorded Pokinatcha in 14 days, 2 weeks straight during the summertime. But, you know, it worked. We made a record, and I wasn't like trying to like promote the record, you know, as much as maybe I should have in my high school. But John Nissen did the artwork, and immediately, before the record was out, I got tattooed. Where is it? There it is. I got tattooed, so I definitely know for a fact I'm the first person to ever get the Pokinatcha Punk tattooed on me.
I remember flying back down to Southern California, listening to Pokinatcha in my car with Jason Martin. And I remember listening to MxPx thinking, these guys are going to be friggin' huge. And that was the first time I had ever signed a band where you just knew it was gonna be big. But with MxPx, they had this just it factor. I thought Mike Herrera was a star. The band, you know, had it all. But at the same time, they were 16, they were still in high school, they couldn't really tour, the guitar player, Andy, wanted to quit the band, you know, so there was obviously a lot of obstacles, but in the essence of the band, you felt like if this band doesn't break up and actually can tour, they have what it takes. Now, I didn't really know what that meant. To me, making it might have been like 40,000 records or whatever, but I just knew they had that thing. I remember Jason and going, dude, these guys have super, super good songs.
Our senior year of high school, we already had enough material for a new album. Andy was practicing with us that winter for the new album, but our main goal was like, all right, Andy, let's tour. We're gonna tour this summer. Because we had tried to tour the summer before, and it fell through. Andy didn't want to do it. I don't know, he had to mow the lawn a lot or something. And he wouldn't even ask his parents, and that was kind of like really the main reason why we ended up kicking him out of the band, was because he wouldn't ask his parents if he could tour. It's so weird, like back then, because he thought, he's like, I just know they're not gonna let me tour. And I was like, but ask anyway, ask. And he wouldn't do it, he wouldn't ask him. So we're like, man, you know, this is like a sign. This is the first of many problems. So we called Andy and conferenced him in, and Yuri and I basically said, man, it's not working out. You don't want to tour, and you don't really have the drive. And he never thought that MxPx was really gonna go anywhere, so it wasn't worth his time. And we respected that, but we're like, because of that, we're gonna get somebody new. You know, he was pissed back then because, well, one, it's just a pride thing and not wanting to be kicked out of a club, and he, you know, and I don't know, it was like, I'd be pissed too. I understand that. Back then, it's different than being a professional musician and getting let go. Or Pokinatcha sort of, got us a huge starting point for some regions, some good regions. One being obviously where Tooth and Nail's from, Southern California, Orange County. Right away, we had a great following down there. We had a good scene going.
We set it up for MxPx to go down and play in Southern California. And when they came down there, it was like an ultra, obviously, mini version thereof, but kind of almost like the Beatles coming to America on a way smaller scale. But we got, they fly down, and I remember we came to the church, and girls were going bonkers for MxPx. And dudes, like everyone was going crazy for this band. And I think that they were a little taken back because, they were like kind of like crusty, like indie rock, punk rockers from Bremerton, this like, small little Navy town in Seattle. And, they were used to playing house shows, basements, like real punk rock. And you go down to Southern California, and Orange County is a whole nother deal. People with money, it's sunny, there's cute girls everywhere. Like, it's just different. It's like everyone's kind of happy and wears like flip-flops and has, surfs, and like, it's just a whole nother culture, and you're up in Seattle and it's like dark and serious and artsy and, and it just a little bit more, kind of like indie, I guess you could say. So we go down to Southern California, and MxPx goes on stage, and the place just goes bonkers. And everyone knows all the lyrics to all the songs on Pokinatcha. And the reality is setting in that I'm sitting there on the side of the stage thinking, every single one of these kids has bought this album. You know what I mean? It's just weird. Like I have this record label, and we put out this band that I signed, and I don't know, it was just like a weird kind of reality of setting in that this is big. It's bigger than the other bands. They kind of stood out from the rest of the pack. And it just went gangbusters. Sold like 20,000 copies.
Boom, showtime, all the kids start flowing in. And I'm like, what happened? Somebody here is really big. Some band that we're playing with that night. But then when we hit the stage, or actually I don't think there was a stage, it's a floor, everybody knew all the words to Pokinatcha. There's all these people that knew who we were. And definitely being the first time out, like far away from our region, it really blew us away. It really made us go, all right, this is crazy. This is real. Let's keep doing this. We want to come back here every weekend. That was our thing.